have to be honest with you. Until I learned the Sikha, I did not know that there is a Chassidish perspective on split beans. That there's a lesson to be learned from a split pea soup. I didn't know that. Okay, it's my fault. But in order to get there, we have to go through a beautiful Rashi Sikha, Parshas Vayigash, the second Sikha. It's a relatively long Sikha, but an absolutely magnificent and actually not too difficult Sikha. Context of the Sikha is that Yosef now tells his brothers that Yosef, Ani Yosef Oidavichai, and then he gives them gifts, and Lechulam, to each of them, he gave a set of clothing. To Binyamin, Yosef gave 300 pieces of silver and 4 additional sets of clothing, making him 5 sets of clothing in total. Then in Pasuk Chav Gimel of Perek Memhei, it says, Ula'aviv, and to his father, Shalach Kazois, he sent like this, Asar Chamarim, 10 donkeys, Noisim Mituv Mitzrayim, that are carrying the best of Egypt, Eser Asainos, and 10 female donkeys, Nois Ois Bar Valechem, which are carrying bar, which is grain and bread, umazoin, food, la'aviv, to their father, ladarach, for their journey. Okay. Back to Egypt. In other words, that they should have food when they travel back to Egypt. Comes Rashi and says, Shalach kazois kecheshbon hazeh, like this amount. Umawa cheshbon, what's the amount? Asar chamor, 10 donkeys. Huh? What are you telling me, Rashi? What am I missing? You just said in the pasuk, he sent like this 10 donkeys. Comes Rashi and says like this amount. What's the amount? 10 donkeys. Of course, yeah. So some people say that the word is kazois. He's trying to explain why it says shalach kazois. The problem is, so what's Rashi adding? Kazois, he sent like this 10 donkeys. Comes Rashi and says he sent like this 10 donkeys. Okay, so you're not explaining me the word kazois. Some other Mefarshim say that he didn't send 10 donkeys, he said the weight of what 10 donkeys could carry, but that doesn't fit in Pshut Shal Mikra. Because then Rashi should have said kimasazeh, like that carrot, like that weight. He says kecheshmanazeh, like that number. So therefore, it must be he sent 10 donkeys. And then the Rebbe has a bunch of other questions within the words. Then the next Rashi continues Mitub Mitzrayim, from the best of Egypt. Rashi quotes Matzinu b'Gemara, which is an unusual thing we find in Gemara, that he sent him old wine. Shedas keinim noichem menu, that old people enjoy. And interesting, the Chidushei Agadas Maharsha that the Rebbe brings in the Ara says, why do old people enjoy wine? Lefishas keinim b'tiba mitzunana, because elderly people are often very cold. They're not warm. V'hayayin mechamamam, and the wine warms them up. Medrash Agada, the Medrash Agada says, Grisin Shalpo, that he sent him split beans. Now, why is he bringing 2 interpretations? Why is the first one, as we know, the first one always is the priority? Why is he quoting the sources, which is unusual? Why is he saying that one is from the Gemara and one's the Medrash Agada? Why is he saying Matzinu b'Gemara, which is an unusual expression? And why does he have to say Shesholach lo yain yashin, that he sent him? Obviously, we're talking about what he sent him. So why does the Rashi have to say Shesholach lo means that he sent him? The Abir B'Kol explanation of all this is Rashi is not here to necessarily only to explain the word kazos. He's asking a very logical question. When Yosef sends them back to Mitzrayim, to Eretz Yisrael, his intention is to bring them right back down. So why would he send so much stuff to bring right back down? If they were going for a long stay, then it makes sense that he's piling them with stuff. But why is he sending them with so much stuff for a journey that's going to lead very quickly? Once they pack up their bags, they're coming back down. And that's what Rashi says, Kecheshbon hazeh, this cheshbon. Which cheshbon? The cheshbon we just read about. Which cheshbon did we just read? 6 psukim earlier. 4 psukim earlier. Pasuk Yutes. When Paro is telling his brother, Yosef, tell your brothers, pack your cattle and take your family and bring them down to Mitzrayim. He says, Va'ata tzuvesa, and now I command you, this is what you should do. You should bring wagons and bring everybody. But what did he say? He said, Tanus be'irchem, fill up your donkeys, and bring them back down with the 10 animals, and bring them back down later. But he said, fill up 10 things of grain. Now, if Paro is so excited that he decides to give them such gifts, how much more so Yosef should give such gifts? And he feels almost compelled. If Paro is doing that, then he feels compelled. And that's what it means, La'aviv Shalach, from his own, besides what Paro sent. So Kazois is Kichesh Nazeh, the same amount that Paro sent. But the question is, Ma'ala Cheshbon, what's the number? How much did Paro send? Seemingly, Paro sent 11. Why? Because there were 11 Shvatim that came down. So why does Rashi say Kecheshbon Azeh Asar Chamorim, that 10? In other words, Rashi is coming and telling us that Yosef and Paro both have the same cheshbon, the same amount, 10. How 10? Comes the Rabbi and says, Pshut Shamikra, we learned that Shimon was kept with the brother, with Yosef, when he sent the other brothers back up. Which means that Shimon's donkey didn't necessarily stay with him in Egypt. Why keep Shimon's donkey? They took it up. Now they come back down, there's only 10. So that's why Kechesh Nazeh is coming to tell you that there was only 10 donkeys. And that's exactly what Paroi filled up as well. Now, according to this, that Yosef sends all this for his father's gift and honor, but not to keep him not hungry, because all this food is so much relatively to what they need. Then the question is, what's he giving that's honoring his father? So Rashi says he's giving something that makes his father feel good, wine. Now, although this makes sense that he's giving it to his father because he's trying to honor, so the context, it doesn't fit with the words Mituv Mitzrayim, from the best of Egypt. Egypt is never known to wine. Egypt doesn't really have a lot of trees, as the Sikha says, it only has vegetation. So therefore comes Rashi and says that the source is in the Gemara. But the Gemara is a book of halacha. In other words, because halachically, morally, he should send him something that his father will get pleasure from, and that is wine. And therefore Rashi has to use the word sheshalach la, etc., because again, it's not within the context of Mituv Mitzrayim, it's part of the broader context that he sent him something that will put him in a good mood. Now, as you can see, Matzinu b'Gemara, all these Lashonos Rashi is using because it doesn't fit nicely into the pasuk, and therefore it's more a Gemara source. So therefore Rashi has to bring a second shot, which fits more with the words. Grisen shall pull split beans, which was a very chashuv food, a popular food and regal food in Mitzrayim. On the other hand, it doesn't feel like that's the honor of his father. He's sending him some beans. So therefore, the honor idea fits more with wine, and the Tuv Mitzrayim fits more with beans. Now comes the Rebbe and says a beautiful insight about what was the message with beans. Comes Rashi and says Medrash Haggadah. In other words, you have to go look and see the Haggadah, a deeper perspective. Comes the Rebbe and says, what's the deeper perspective of split beans? Yosef knew that when they come and tell their father everything that happened, Yaakov will maybe mistrust the brothers. In other words, he'll feel that they sold him. And even if not, he'll regret the 22 years that happened, that he didn't see his son. There'll be a lot of what ifs. There'll be a lot of regret. There'll be a lot of angst. Comes Rashi and comes Yosef and says the message, Samani Elikim Lada, and Hashem appointed me for the master over here. Don't worry. And I'll send you Grisen Shalpul, split beans, just like a bean can only be appreciated when it's split. So too in life, sometimes the only way to bring success is by splitting it, by being smashed. In other words, my journey that had to be split into pieces, and the fact that two of us had to be split from each other, me and Dad had to be split, that was for the Toyelis. So this is Medrash Haggadah. In other words, this wasn't necessarily a davar chashuv. He's not sending him a davar chashuv. He's sending a message to his father. Comes to them and says in the East test, the final list, that you could explain something else, and through that a chassidische taich. Question is, why is he sending him wine? If you want to send him something to pleasure him, give him something he doesn't have. But why does he think his father doesn't have wine? Chances are he doesn't have beans, because that's a very hush of a fruit and it's a time of hunger. But wine is something that you could store for years before. So chances are his father had wine. Comes Rashi and says, aha, because in last week's Parsha Miketz, it says, Vayishtu Vayishku, they drank and got drunk with him. The brothers were Yosef. Comes Rashi and says that they didn't drink for 22 years. If they didn't drink for 22 years, how much more? So Yaakov didn't drink. So therefore, Yaakov is going to find comfort when Yosef comes and says, Dad, here, have some wine. Enjoy it. Have some wine. And this explains, according to Chassidus, another reason, the message of the wine. Why did he choose wine? To tell his father that even when I was in Egypt, I never gave up meeting you. That's why I even had wine that takes a long time to prepare, because I prepared this a long time in advance. I knew that we would meet again. And that's the Torah. Even when life is hectic, COVID, and the stresses, we don't give up. But we have to have bitachon that everything will be successful and that Gashmis will not block our goals. And another hero, just like Yosef gave his father a gift without being asked by Pari, but rather his own intuition. He didn't ask Pari permission, because when it comes to Kibbud Av, he doesn't need Pari's permission, and he does it behidr. So too, when it comes to Torah mitzvahs, you don't care about Mitzrayim, Meitzadim, any limitations. You do a behidr, and through that, you not only find success in Torah mitzvahs, you find success in all the things Gashmias in your life. So it should be in our life.